Hi and welcome to Angling For You. Today you join me on the Oaks Lakes fisheries. Let's just get this fish in. And what we're doing is we're looking at some cold water pellet fishing. I'm going for try and catch some very lively, lovely F1s like this. So let's get him back. Let's talk through the rig. So simple setup really today. Starting at the business end, we have a Daiwa yank and bank, and we have a Ninja reel. Now the reel's only sort of just under 3,000 reel, so it's perfect for this short work. Rod's a little longer than my other one. I've got my other one set up for fishing a different tactic today, but that's coupled with a 5 pound Daiwa hypersensor. We've got a small Preston Innovations feeder on, a little flatbed feeder, and we're fishing micro pellets. The way I approach this is similar to Summit in regards to the setup, but different to Summit in regards to how we feed. So what I mean by that is, in the summer we'd be looking at 2 or 3 minutes casting, and we would look at that for either getting a fish or bringing it in that time. So when we fish in the winter, we tend to leave in it between 15-20 minutes per fish. Might sound a bit mad to you, but basically we're just waiting for that bite to develop. The fish are spookier, they don't feed as well, and we really just want to allow them to settle and come towards the bait. So like I say, the feeders have got to be in line at Oaks Lakes, so we've got that running completely in line to a little stopper bead, and then the hook link is a 6-inch hook link, and that hook link is 015 reflow power, and that is down to a small size 18 KKMB pressing hook and a small band. So I'm going to band one up back and throw it back in just to start with going. As soon as we get this in, what I'll do is I'll cut to the preparation of the bait and how we get that ready. But firstly, so today we're using 4mm hard pellets. Got to be fishery owned ones, and the reason I use 4mm is the F1s here are pretty much used to that 4mm pellet. And again, when it's in winter, we want the baits to look as similar as the feed baits. In the summer, obviously, they're a little bit more ravenous and they'll attack the feeder. This time of year, they're a bit more cautious, and we want a smaller bait that blends in with the rest of the baits that we've got on there. So just laying the feeder on top, we're putting a very shallow amount of pellets on there before we put us 4mm on there, and then another small shallow amount on top. And I'll lift this out and I'll get it close to camera and you can see how little there is in this feeder. That's really important to how we're fishing. So if you see, once I squash it down, it's actually level with the feeder, and it's I'll get closer, it's not actually over full. So if you can see, it is, like I say, it's not over full, it's level with the feeder, and that's really important when we're fishing this method. Like I say, you don't want to overfeed the fish. That's important. And the peg that we're fishing is peg 70 on cedar, and we're aiming for this just off the offcut of the island. Now there's a little slope and I want to be on that slope. I don't want to be underneath the island. If it was summer, I'd want to be underneath that island. It's too shallow there at the moment, and what I want to do is just be slightly off that, around that corner. See if we can get it close. Perfect, and that's exactly where I want to be. We sink that line, tip of the rod's down, and we're fishing straight away. What we'll do now is to cut to the preparation. Right guys, I'm going to show you how to soak the pellets. So we've got fishery 2mm pellets here. As you can see, I've just got plain water. Now when you do this in winter or colder water, it tends to take a little bit longer, but the premise is 2mm 2 minutes. I've just covered those just over water. Like I said, the premise is 2 minutes for 2mm. Now what I found is fishery pellets, this is alright for sort of using commercial bought pellets and stuff like that, but what I found is that when you use a fishery pellet, they tend to degrade a lot faster. I don't know why that is. I don't know if they use different compounds, and maybe not same for all around the country. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but they're certainly the venues I fish. So I do them for 1 minute, and then I let them stand and absorb. So obviously I strain the water, and then I let them absorb. So I'm just going to give it a cut for a few more seconds while I'm talking, and then we'll strain those off, and I'll show you. And then obviously we'll just leave it, and then we'll come back and obviously have a look at what they look like. So they've had roughly a minute now, and they're starting to absorb, and all I'm going to do is just pour off that water now. And like I say, if you're going to do pellets, it's probably best to do certainly this time of year when the water's really cold. It should be the first thing you do when you get to your peg, because especially if you're going to want to fish pretty sharpish, because those pellets will take time to soak up the water after you've strained off the water, because obviously you strain off the water, there's going to be residual water. So now these are still damp and they're going to keep swelling, so you're going to have to leave them roughly 10 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer, as it's a good idea to do them before you set up, and then that way you're ready to rock and roll. We'll come back and show you when they're done. Right guys, into another fish now. This actually fell to a chocolate orange wafter, which I'll show you in a second. It's always good to have a few baits when you're fishing any sort of feeder really. Nice F1. Let's get him unhooked, nice and full of beans like the other one. Hooked perfectly inside the corner of the mouth. Oh, and he's trying to jump for it there. Let's see if I can hold him up for you. He's full of beans. It's still not having none of it. There we go. Lovely little fish. Let's get him back. So I'll just go into lift that up a little bit. I'll just go into what we just caught that on. So the difference of bait there was, like I say, the chocolate and orange wafters. So as you can see, the little dumbbells, and they are a 6mm rather than a 4, and it's always good to have some with you. I've got the oranges there. I've got some multicoloured in my bag, but I've also got some white ones as well. And basically, I've obviously had that fish, and then I had a couple of taps on the just a pellet. But sometimes, especially in the colder months, a little standout bait can just attract the attention of the fish straight away, and they sometimes just take it in pure instinct, and that's literally what just happened. I cast that out before I could turn on the camera. That it was gone, and that's sometimes what happens when you put a standout bait there. Obviously, they're feeding on the baits that you've got, and saw that one straight away and wanted it. Yeah, well, I mean, when I fish on the feeder, really in most, well, in fact all of summer, and even when I fish winter to an extent, I like to have a selection of baits. Now, with the pellet feeder, you've got obviously those bandems, you've got sort of, you can have mini boilies, you can have dumbbells, you can have pellets and various different sizes of pellets. Those kind of things will sit in your box, so it's probably good to have them. I've got an array of different types of pellets in there, 6 mils, 8 mils, krill flavour, you know, halibut flavour, and I've got the standard bandems, the coconut ones, the chocolate oranges, which what we just caught on there, and I also always carry sweet corn with me, so you know, it's good to have those selection of baits. Sometimes even putting a maggot on with pellet in winter can sometimes bring a fish, especially with sort of that, you know, if you're wanting a bit of movement, just to maybe attract, that can work for you. Into another F1. Coming at a nice slow and steady pace now. Sort of 10 minutes ago since I had the one before. This one feels a little bit better stamp. I've only got light gear, so don't want to bully him too much. Oh, that's a nice fish. And a good one to end up. And the feature on. Lovely F1 that. There he is. It's a lovely F1, is that? Just get him on nuts for you, and I'll hold him up. That's lovely fish to finish on. So behaves himself. Set this net underneath just in case he don't. That's a lovely fish in the sunshine. Fantastic job. Let's get him back. So as you can see, it's a great method, very deadly, and fishes really well. But in cold months, just as it does in summer, but you just do have to wait and sit on your hands. Now, we've had 3 different fish on 3 different baits, all using the same method. So the first fish that we had on the 4 mil pellets. Second fish we had was on the wafters, and that fish there was on the maggots, and 1 white, 1 red, and that just shows you that you have to change around your baits sometimes, and just keep those fish guessing to try and put those fish in your net, not always keeping that same bait and sitting on it all the time. So I hope this has been helpful to you. Join us on the Facebook group, Angling For You, and join us on the Instagram, Angling_for you. Got lots of videos coming up, lots of things planned for this year, and thanks as always. Tight lines.